apologies again for that. Did not want that to happen, but completely out of my control. So like I was saying, if you're interested in any other webinars that are hosted by Live on ServiceNow that you can easily register for, the link right now is in the chat, so you can take a look at other webinars from other products or for ITOM as well. And just some housekeeping before we really get started with the content. So there's going to be time throughout the session for you to put your questions in the Q&A section in Zoom. We will have people ready to answer your questions right on the spot. And some questions I may highlight and answer live on the call as well. And in the case where we come up to the end of the hour and you still have questions, we'll still be here and ready to answer your questions live as well. And like I said earlier, the presentation is going to be available on the ServiceNow community page on YouTube in about a week from the date of this presentation. And after this event, there's always going to be a post-event survey. So if you want to give us your feedback there, we would gladly welcome it. And I will be talking about licensing throughout the presentation. So I will talk about that later as well, because I know people always ask about that. Now, on the agenda for today is what is Now Assist as a general overarching theme and functionality. Then I will be going into AIOps in the service operations workspace, because this is essential for you being able to use the current skills available for Now Assist for ITOM. So if you're not already aware of what we have in the service operations workspace for AIOps, this will get you up to speed and get you more ready to be able to adopt Now Assist for ITOM. I'll be going over the current capabilities and skills of this, as well as the licensing implications and some other facts that you probably would like to know about Now Assist for ITOM. And then I will have a demo as well for the current skills that we have available. And I will share some learning resources, and then we have some extra time at the end for Q&A. So the first question that you may have, if you aren't already familiar, is what is Now Assist? So just at a very high level, I want to talk about what Now Assist is. So Now Assist is how ServiceNow infuses AI into every corner of your business across IT, which includes ITOM, HR, customer and app delivery, and automation to help maximize productivity and creativity across developers, admins, operators, analysts, and business owners, and your own customers and employees. And today, I'll be talking to you about how the ITOM capabilities that are already available to you today can help you improve your operator productivity. And maybe in the future, also admin productivity, but that's a little tidbit that maybe you'll learn about in a future release. So first up, I want to get a feeler out for how much you know about ITOM event management right now, or how much you may not know. So let me launch this poll right here and see what your responses are today. So I'll run this poll for about a minute-ish, just so I can get an understanding of where you are on your journey with ITOM and how ready some of you may or may not be to adopt Now Assist for ITOM currently. So I appreciate the responses. I see that the majority of the people on the call today, but also it's kind of close, is that you are currently using event management, and also many of you have it on the roadmap, but also some of you are maybe using a different solution. So I'm going to end the poll right now, or slowly, because I see question answers still rolling in. But I am personally very happy to see, since I am one of the outbound product managers for ITOM, also my name is Victoria Lowe, if you don't already know that, is that most of you are using event management today. But now the question is, which is not a poll question, but a question for you to think about, is, are you using your event management solution in the service operations workspace? Because right now, and for the past year and year and a half, I'd even say, this is where we have been releasing all of our latest and greatest innovations for ITOM. And without using the service operations workspace for your event management solution with ServiceNow, you aren't getting all the benefits and all the innovations that were coming out. So in the interest of people who haven't yet implemented event management, as well as those who may not be familiar with what we have had going on in the service operations workspace, I want to talk about our current capabilities in service operations workspace at a high level. So maybe you can look a bit more into it to implement it into your own organization, or you have something to look forward to once you do start your implementation of event management. So to get started with any event management journey, the first thing you want to do is integrate your data from your various monitoring tools into ServiceNow to ingest it. And we have a very straightforward way where we want to make the experience for integration low code to no code, meaning that we can provide you a guided experience on how to integrate various event log and metric sources into ServiceNow, and also even give you the option to set up a custom connector webhook in the case that we may not yet offer some of your event connectors as out of the box. And we are constantly looking for new integrations to introduce as part of Integrations Launchpad as out of the box options. So if you have any ideas, feel free to put them in the chat if you are already using Integration Launchpad and want your integration that you're using to be considered as something that we could implement out of the box, or you can also suggest ideas in the ideal portal for ServiceNow as well. So this capability of Integrations Launchpad is only available in the service operations workspace. And if you are already entitled and using event management, that means you already have access to this without any extra added cost. I know that extra and added is the same thing, but you get what I mean. So if you already have access to this, then why not take advantage of this experience? And it also helps you very easily understand all the integrations that you have already installed on your instance as well, and it helps you monitor your integration health. I don't have a specific slide for that in this specific presentation, but there are a ton of features that help you get a more holistic view on all your integrations that you have that you otherwise wouldn't have had the option for if you're still using the old workspace and the old methods of integrating your various monitoring tools. So that is how everyone has to get started with event management. And then next up, what you want to do is that you always want to set up automations to do tasks that can extract information from your alerts, that can group your alerts together, that can recompose the information of your alerts, all in the service operations workspace without having to navigate to several other modules within ServiceNow to do these things and to create these automations for your alerts. And so all these apps that I'm showing you today are actually part of this specific app called the AIOps experience, which is part of the store. And if you'd like to take a look at the latest release and the latest version there, you can always go into the store and search up AIOps experience. And again, if you're entitled to event management already, you have access to all of the capabilities that I'm showing to you right now in terms of AIOps in service operations workspace. Analysis for ITOM is a separate entitlement apart from this, but I'm just telling you, if you have event management, you already have the options to do all the things in the current view that I'm showing you today and the current user experience. So now we're making it super easy for you to set up your automations to extract fields, otherwise known as extracting with regex or recomposing them. And also one of the coolest features that I want to talk about is that we're making it super easy for you to understand the alert correlation rules that you're creating and the impact that they actually have on your alerts themselves by having the option to actually run a simulation on the criteria that you've defined to see what alerts would actually get grouped together as a result of your criteria that you've defined. And you can keep on rerunning the simulation until you actually get the results that you want and continue fine-tuning it until you have the outcome that you desire. So this is a really cool feature that we've come out recently. And if you want to learn more about alert automation and the features that we've come out and when we've come out with them, feel free to check out the previous What's New webinars for AIOps for Q2 and Q3 and Q4 as well. And next up, in the same vein as what I was talking about before, is that we want to help you set up all your automations very easily within the service operations workspace. And in the case where you know that some of your alerts you'd always like escalate to incidents right away, you can also easily set that up in the service operations workspace and have it dynamically populated with any of the information that you have available in your alert already. And so that it takes out the manual work that you may otherwise have to do for alerts that you always know should be promoted to incidents. And we also give you the option to set up a outbound webhook to any third-party systems, whether it may be another ticketing system that another team uses, or it could be a way to also trigger some remediation actions on some tooling outside of ServiceNow for specific alerts. And you can easily do this and again, dynamically actually populate the JSON payload that you're sending to these third-party systems with alert data as well. So now that you have your integration set up, you have them being enriched as you'd like, you've normalized the data to ServiceNow, and you have them grouping to reduce noise in your, I was about to say express list because that's what I'm talking about right now, but in your alert list. And you also have some escalation policies put into place for some specific alerts as well. But after you've had these all set up, what you want to be able to do now is actually view all those alerts. And that is where Express List comes in. So Express List came out over a year ago now. I can't believe it's been a year. And Express List is a live alert list that makes it super easy for your operators to get all the information that they need while staying in the service operations workspace and maybe even just staying in Express List so that they can quickly analyze and understand the issues being raised by alerts, quickly remediate them if possible with quick remediation actions, and also be able to bulk action them as well. And by having all this information available to operators in just Express List, it provides them a single pane of glass to analyze, investigate, understand issues, and it reduces the effort that they need to go through to otherwise look for all the information that they need for alert analysis. And that kind of segues me into analysis for ITOM, which would otherwise have taken them quite a bit of time to find all this information. And ExpressList also provides you access to other really important features that you may find useful, like link view right here. And sorry, I'm going to take a sip of water. Link view right here, which you can learn about in the Q3 release webinar as well, where you can see a topological view of alert groups to understand the blast radius impact of alerts by giving you a converged view of CIs, metrics, impacted services, and so on, so that you can better and more quickly understand the impact of an alert group without having to do all of the analysis in your head and linking all the information yourself. So it's one of the many amazing features that we have available. And I want to talk about all these things today because this is essential to you being able to leverage Now Assist for ITOM right now. So you may notice here actually that there is a little fancy star, which you've probably seen with all the other Now Assist things. And its alert analysis has been generated by Now Assist. And this brings me very well into the section where I will talk about what is Now Assist for ITOM in terms of the current capabilities we have. I will not be talking about future, although I admittedly may slip up a bit, but I'll be focusing today on the current skills in the form of capabilities that we have available today. So I have another poll question for you. So I want to understand, how long does it actually take for your operators to understand issues raised by your various monitoring tools today? Does it take you under 10 minutes or your operators over 10 minutes? Or are they just super smart and they just instantly know what's happening? And if that's the case, that's great. I don't think that's most people, but I'm really impressed by that answer. So I'm gonna let the answers come in. The results are actually really interesting today. And this is actually the first time I've ever asked this question in a webinar. So the vast majority of you are saying that it takes your operators over 10 minutes, actually it's kind of evening out now, but over 10 minutes to understand what the issue actually is of the alerts that you have coming in from your monitoring tools. And one of you is actually saying that they know exactly what's happening and that they're experts. So that's awesome. But for the majority of you, it takes a decent amount of time for your operators to understand what's happening. And that can end up impacting your business because by the time that they understand the issues being raised by your alerts, something could have already gone down. You could already be getting incidents and calls from your end users complaining about this isn't working, like the checkout service is down, what is happening? And that can cause dollar loss to your business, which ultimately no one wants to lose money. If anything, people want to save money. And that is kind of what we are trying to help with Now Assist for ITOM. And the first skill that I want to talk about, and it's actually the first skill that we released for Now Assist for ITOM, was alert analysis. And what alert analysis does is that it takes the information from alerts and it helps you decrypt and understand alerts that could either be very jargon heavy or either could be very cryptic as well because the alerts can sometimes just be error codes that unless you're a subject matter expert, you may not actually be aware of what is happening in the alert. And so to do this for individual alerts as well as grouped alerts, we make it super easy for operators to use alert analysis to help them understand what's happening. So we provide them a summary in bulletproof form of what exactly is happening in the alert in terms of the CIs that are impacted, the impacted services that are impacted, the contextual information such as the timing of the alerts and how sequentially they happen to help you understand what's happening in the alert group without having to go in and analyze every single thing yourself. And so we go beyond actually just providing you a summary, and we also provide you an analysis that gives you ideas on what the probable root cause may have been, as well as going further even beyond that and providing more information on potential next steps, which could be steps for remediation potentially, or even next investigation steps that you can take in order to more easily understand what next steps you can take so that you don't have to figure out yourself to resolve the issue faster. And so this already gives you a great helping hand in order to resolve the issue faster, as opposed to you having to, not you necessarily, but your operators otherwise having to use Google, use whatever various other sources that they may use in terms of websites to try to understand what the issue is that's happening. This can also help you reduce the amount of escalations because now we're presenting all this information to your operator to empower them to make their own decisions and also not have them necessarily always have to message or contact someone who they think is more experienced and could answer the question better. They have all the information that they could maybe need presented to them directly. And this is just the first skill of Now Assist for ITOM that again supports individual alerts as well as grouped alerts. And I also want to just quickly note that in the slide that I showed earlier right here in Express List, we've also further extended alert analysis so that here for grouped alerts, where the alert group title can sometimes be not too helpful, we're extending the capability of alert analysis so that you can actually use the alert analysis summary as a way to replace the otherwise kind of hard to understand what the issue is alert group description, as we can see right here. So we can see right here that in this specific screenshot, I have a high memory and CPU utilization on the specific CI, and this description was something else before. I promise I'm not lying because I took the screenshot myself. And so we actually replaced it with this. And you could also easily revert it back to the previous description if you'd like to as well. So this is just one of the ways that we're extending our existing capabilities for Now Assist into other features and other pain points that we've heard from customers. So I'm not going to explain this part again, but I also have a next poll question for you, which I'd like to understand before I talk about the next skill that we have that is part of Now Assist for ITOM. So I want to understand, how do your operations teams primarily action or respond? Sorry, I realized I forgot a word in the slide, but to issues, I will say issues in ServiceNow. So do you primarily use alerts? Do you primarily use incidents? Do you use a different solution? So this question doesn't really apply to you since you're not using ServiceNow. Please let me know, because I kind of already know what the answer is going to be majority wise, but excited to see what the real answers that I'm getting are. So most of you, more than half of you, are in your organizations primarily using incidents to action the issues while using ServiceNow. Some of you are using alerts. Thank you. Go team ITOM. But for those of you using incidents, we have a brand new skill, which you'll probably find quite helpful. And for those primarily using alerts, I will say, again, safe harbor notice, just be patient, I will say. But without further ado, I want to talk about the newest skill that we had, which came out in the November store release of this year, so just last month, which is alert investigation. And like it says right in the slide, we are trying to reduce the investigation time with insights from past incidents that you may have. So for those of you who are primarily using incidents to respond to issues while using ServiceNow, if you were maybe thinking about using Now Assist for ITOM and trying to work primarily off of alerts as a starting point, this could be something that's very helpful for you. And also, again, people who primarily use alerts already in general, just be patient for a few quarters or so or less. But what we're doing is that what would otherwise have been a ton of time for your operators to investigate other related issues to find past resolution strategies, we want to use Now Assist to just present that information to you in the context of historical incidents. So by doing this, we're heavily reducing the investigation time and just helping you quickly understand and give you a starting point as to who you can contact in order to resolve an issue on the specific CI that a similar incident has happened on before, as well as a summary of the resolution notes of the top identified related incidents that have happened in the past. So now not only do you know exactly who has solved similar issues before and their team, if it's applicable, but you also have a summary of the resolution notes from these resolved or closed incidents, which helps you even maybe just resolve the issue before it escalates further, and you don't even have to contact those past resolvers as well. We also provide some more contextual information on the historical incidents as well, such as their priority that they had, and also the timing if available or if relevant. But this is a brand new feature. That is also why we don't really have that many statistics on it right now and how much it improves your investigation time. But I think with the amount of people in this webinar who have told me that they primarily action incidents, and also those who have told me that it takes them a lot of time, over 10 minutes, to understand the issues at hand, the features of Now Assist for ITOM, as well as which includes the skills of alert analysis and alert investigation, would heavily improve your operator experience and empower them to actually fix issues on their own, and also just understand and acquire more information and knowledge faster than they otherwise would have had the option to alone, or just using Google or some other search engine as well. So I actually have a few slides just talking about every slide and every feature that we've released and what quarter they came out with, but I don't think that will be quite too useful for you. But it will be available in the deck that we have already available for you in the community blog post for this webinar today. So if you go into community and you look for the blog post for this event, the presentation will already be available there, and you can access all these slides here that I don't think are too useful necessarily in the context of this webinar. But I want to go more now and focus on some of the facts that are probably going through your head and you're probably wondering about right now. So as of today, Alert Assist is only supported in English. And sorry, I need to move around my pages a bit. And the exchange of data are encrypted, and any data in transit is protected with TLS 1.2. And the input and output data is not cached or stored on the original data center. And the data is only used for training the Now LLM service with stripped PII info prior to using it for the training, which can also be opted out of. To access this, if you are already licensed for it and for some reason not using it, you can do this through the Now Assist for ITOM or IT Operations Management store app in the store, but you need proper licensing to install this on your instance. And you do have to be licensed for it before using it. You cannot be unlicensed and attempt to use it in subprod. You must be licensed for it in the first place. As for the technical aspects, the LLM needed for analysis for ITOM is provided by ServiceNow LLM service. So you don't need to have your own LLM in order to use analysis for ITOM. We're trying to make it so that you don't need data science experts and AI experts in order to use our generative AI capabilities. We want to make this available for you. And the newest version of analysis for ITOM has the requirements of Xanadu patch 3 for the November release, which is version 1.2.0. And you can also see the more detailed requirements for the earlier releases of analysis for ITOM in the store listing, but I think you probably want to use the most up-to-date version so you can get alert investigation. And if you would like to use analysis for ITOM, it is available through the ITOM Professional Plus or ITOM Enterprise Plus SKUs, which require existing licensing for ITOM Operator Professional or ITOM AIOps Enterprise. So again, in order to use these capabilities and to be able to download it or install it from the store in the first place, you have to be properly licensed for it. And also, I do want to note that I will be doing a demo after this whole section, but regardless, I'll continue talking through the facts because these are pretty important as well. And just a quick overview of how Assist work for Now Assist today, or Now Assist for ITOM today. And that is for alert investigation and alert analysis. Each investigation or analysis consumes one assist per analysis or investigation. And again, this slide will be available to you in the community page where this is already posted. And before I move on to the demo for today, I did actually want to put out a question to you all about what other Gen AI capabilities would you like to see for ITOM? So I don't have a Zoom poll for this. I'd really appreciate if you could put it into the chat today so that our team can understand what gaps you've seen and what things you would like improved potentially by analysis for ITOM. So again, if you could please put your answers in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. And no rush on this because I will also shortly be going over the demo for analysis for ITOM as well. But just some food for thought while, or just after I presented everything and before my demo today. And Alert Assist is available for some customers who are on GCC, but for the specific details on that, I would suggest talking to your account teams because the restrictions can depend on what type of customer you are. And at the end of the webinar, I will be showing you and sharing some resources as well on some blog articles that you could look at and some places that you could find some useful resources on previous sessions that we have had as well, covering analysis for ITOM. But I will say that this is the most up-to-date version, and you are getting all the information on analysis for ITOM that you would otherwise have gotten from any other session, if anything less, because I may have not talked about the new feature and I may have not talked about all the new enhancements as well. And without further ado, let me move on to the demo for today. So right now I am in the service operations workspace and I have alert analysis generated, and all I had to do was just simply click the analysis button. And like I said, we can generate alert analysis not only for individual alerts, but also alert groups as well. And this provides you with a summary briefing of the alerts themselves, which includes contextual information from all of the alerts in the alert group, as well as we go further and provide more information on everything as well for probable root cause and remediation actions. And in the case where we see right here that the description of this alert group isn't really helpful, I want to use now alert analysis to give you a better description so that you can more quickly understand the issue that it's being raised by this alert group. And so once I click to update description, a analysis generated new description was created, and you have the option to mark it as not helpful or helpful depending on how you feel about it. And then once you're ready, you can just click update and the alert group description will be updated momentarily. So now we can see that since we clicked update description, there's now a reverse button as well. So if in any case you may decide, I don't really like this description anymore and I want to go back to the old one, you could easily just revert it as well. But for this case, I do like this better, so we'll stick with it. So now you have alert analysis generated, but maybe you actually have some other alerts or other incidents that you have had in the past that can help you actually resolve the issue that is happening right now. And so I'm going to go into the alert form, and I am going to first highlight that you can also update the alert group description here and also do alert analysis. But for alert investigation, I'm going to open the analysis panel, and I'm just going to pin it so that it's much bigger and easier to see. And so now you also have the option to perform alert analysis here. But for today specifically, I want to analyze related incidents as well. So maybe you do have some incidents that are related, maybe you don't, but this is a great starting point to help you identify if there are other past resolution strategies that could potentially actually help you resolve this issue faster, where the alert analysis generation of the summary and analysis wasn't quite as helpful to you otherwise. And so, don't know what's happening. Okay, there. Now I'm going to click Analyze Related Incidents to help me identify, without me having to do it myself, the top related incidents on this alert. And we can see that there's only top 2 related incidents, but the information could be useful to me. And in this case, you can see that of the 2 top related incidents, they're just priority planning incidents, and they were resolved by someone by the name of Victoria. Maybe it could have been me. and they were from the team Flow Stars. And just like that, you already know who has resolved a similar issue in the past and what team they're part of. And in this case, I guess they didn't have that many resolution notes when they closed up these incidents. So we can just see right here that Victoria added more memory resources, and that's how she resolved the issue in the past. In the case where maybe they had more detailed resolution notes, there would be more information here. But otherwise, if they want to investigate further on their own without actually having to do all the searching themselves, they can easily click through the two related incidents as well, so that they can just do a bit more digging if they'd like. And just like that, you have all the information presented to you on probable root cause provided by ServiceNow, or probable root cause and remediation provided by your historical incidents as well. And that is it for analysis for ITOM demo for today. We also have new features planned, I will say, for the next few quarters, so stay tuned. Sign up for future webinars as well as they are scheduled so that you can learn about all the latest and greatest with analysis for ITOM. But I also just did want to highlight, because I didn't show it in the specific demo today, that alert analysis can actually also be automatically populated into incidents so that you can have all the information that is contained within alert analysis directly in the incident form without having to copy and paste all this very detailed information directly into the incident yourself. So something I just wanted to highlight that I forgot to call out specifically. But again, this deck is already going to be shared with you today in the community blog post as well. So I now want to share some resources to learn more and a bunch of other things. So we have some webinars coming up, and only just a few more for the rest of December and the rest of 2024. 2025 is so close now. But we have the AIOps Power Hour coming up next week on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday at, sorry, I had to think about for a second, 9 a.m. Eastern time. And this will definitely be a bit too early for people on the West Coast, but no fear. We'll also be having an AIOps Power Hour in mid-February, which will be around 9 a.m. Pacific time and 12 p.m. Eastern time. So if you can't make it to the AIOps Power Hour coming up next week, you also have the option to attend the ones that are going to be in mid-February. And a bit more explanation on what AIOps Power Hour is. It is going to be a deep dive on the topics of event management, monitoring, which includes ACCM and metric intelligence, and HLA, so that you can understand how you can take all these capabilities and bring value to your organization by using them. So these are going to be 90-minute sessions with plenty of time for Q&A, where ITOM experts will be talking to you directly and answering your questions so that you can be successful using AIOps. And even though it's kind of quite forward-looking, I also did want to highlight that we will be having our What's New in Yokohama webinars for Americas, Europe, Asia in English, as well as for Japan and Japanese in late March. Those webinars aren't yet up, but keep an eye out on the webinar page on Live on ServiceNow so that you could easily sign up for all those webinars once they become available. And so I am going to now copy and paste everything into the chat, but I realize now I have way too many links, so just give me a second. For first, the webinar sign up, and then a bunch of articles that would be useful to you in terms of analysis for ITOM and AIOps in general, as well as the store app listing and some product documentation if you'd like to access that as well. And we've also linked a lot of the resources in the ITOM AIOps resource library that I've listed. So if you want to get more information on past releases that have happened in the last few quarters, you could easily access that there. But that is all I have for today. So we will stick around for questions for the next few minutes. Otherwise, thank you for attending the webinar today. today. Really appreciate your time, and I hope to see you soon in a future webinar that we'll be hosting, because I'm sure I probably will. And again, if you have any more questions, feel free to put them in the Q&A, and we'll stick around for a few more minutes to answer any last questions that you may have. And again, thank you for my entire team on supporting me for this webinar today and being my moral support, keeping me company, and also really appreciate all your time for attending this webinar as well.